Well, hello, friends. How is everyone today? I'm so glad y'all are here. I have a very special guest on the show. It's going to be so much fun. If you are ready to be inspired from someone's story who went, against all odds and started her business, it's super successful. She's built a super popular podcast and was even a TEDx speaker. Y'all are going to love Jen Noble. She's a relationship coach. She's on here today to share with you her story. I'm telling you, it's inspiring, it's motivating. She's real, she's frank, she's so much fun, and it's going to be a blast. And you're going to learn so much from her, and you're going to be fired up and ready to pursue your business dreams. So, Jen, I'm giving you the heads up. I'm about to bring you on here. I'm so excited to share you with the world. Can you see yourself?
I have no idea. I don't know how this works half the time. So
you can't see
nothing
yourself.
on my end changed, but I'm going to trust it's going on YouTube.
It is on YouTube. There is a 20-second delay. So for everyone that's watching, if we say something or ask something and then there's like a pause or, there's some kind of delay, just know that even if you type in the chat, there is going to be a little bit of a delay. And speaking of that, you can ask questions. This is interactive. Yes. This is a time for you to just ask Jen anything about her journey.
I love questions.
Yes, we love it. It's so much fun, and don't be afraid. So anyways, I'm just so excited you're here. Jen, I just wanted you to take it away and just kind of share what you do, and then we can delve into how you got here and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I am a relationship coach. I love working specifically with women that are struggling with their communication and their relationships. They're just stuck in those toxic patterns that happen again and again. It seems to be the same thing with a different guy every time. And specifically, I work with women who maybe they're a little bit feisty. Maybe they have a big personality or they've been told they're too much sometimes. And what I love doing is working with them and showing them that they are perfect exactly how they are. And that all we have to do is tweak a little bit of things in order to maybe not be as reactionary or maybe just to be a bit more level-headed, but not lose that spark that's inside of them. And that's my most important thing.
I love that. That's so important. And what I love is I feel like in today's world, people are really making an effort to improve relationships and communication. I mean, I think because we felt like there's been a setback with all the social media, even though it's supposed to connect us, but yet relationships still suffer. And I love this. And so do you deal with what kind of relationships do you deal with? If someone's watching right now, what types of relationships are you referring to?
Yeah, so I mainly deal with romantic relationships. And here's why, because I'm very big on attachment theory. So attachment theory, it's a buzzword right now. Some of you might not know, some of you might not. You can ask in the chat if you want to, or maybe we could dive into it, or maybe we leave it alone because everyone's like, we know what it is, Jen. But it's basically the concept of how we were raised in childhood with our primary caregivers and how that influences our romantic relationships moving forward. Friendships, coworkers, they're important, don't get me wrong, but nothing is as intense as that romantic relationship, as that one person that you want to have for you be your everything. Or you're constantly out there on dating apps. So I specifically work with women seeking men, but I have a ton of resources for women seeking women, or maybe polyamorous women or bisexual women. I want to be clear there that this is so important to have. It's just my experience is I'm a cis straight woman. And so I work with women who are seeking men. And I love doing that so much because it's really gives them a place to see and understand that they're not wrong, right? Their relationships, I understand that they keep messing up, but and yes, they are the common denominator. We have to own that. And at the same time, it's not their fault. It's just programming. It's just a root cause. That's all it is. And we'll get through that.
Yes. And did I hear you say that it comes from the parental relationships? Did I hear you say that? Can you explain that?
So it comes from our parents, our grandparents, our aunts and uncles, whoever it was that raised you. So I often say primary caregivers because some of us grew up in foster care or different aspects of that where we didn't necessarily have the mom or the dad. But who is that one or two adults in your life that really raised you, that really kind of shaped who you are? And that's attachment styles right there. That's how it gets developed.
It's how you develop an attachment style. And you're saying that carries over to your romantic relationships.
Yeah, it's ingrained in us. In fact, that's what attachment theory is all about. How you were raised as a child will dictate how you now perceive your relationships moving forward. And there's tons of studies about this, not just about attachment styles, but also about childhood trauma, all of this stuff dictating later on, are you going to be someone who is needy? Are you going to be someone that's clinging, onto your boyfriend? Are you going to be someone that pushes your boyfriend away, that pushes, your husband comes home with flowers and you roll your eyes at him? I used to do that.
Yeah.
Right. That's this, you push it away and you're like, and then you push it away and he doesn't come back and you're like, wait, where are you? Come back to me. And this push pull, that's one of the attachment styles. And so that's where it all comes from.
So that's interesting. And that's a buzzword. People are talking about attachment styles.
Attachment
as
styles.
You said.
Yes.
It's a big
all
thing.
that. Yeah.
But it's really too about communication. Is that what you were saying? You and I were talking earlier that really, when you get down to it, it's about communication.
Yeah, and I trained in attachment styles. I trained at this place called the Personal Development School, and I am certified in the integrated attachment theory. And so I was like, oh, I'm all about attachment styles. This is where it's at. This is where we're going to change.
Yeah.
And then I started finding, well, attachment styles are great, and it is the root cause. I had this kind of special niche that I started understanding of communication. I am trained in nonviolent communication because I myself had to go through it when I was very unhealed. And I've always had this knack of being able to kind of rewrite scripts for people. So when I was going through the program, when I was doing my own healing, people would come to me and say, what do I text my boyfriend? What do I say to my husband? And so I'd be like, oh, why don't we try this? And why don't you come at it with a validation stance and a this stance? And people would be like, it worked. And then I started finding what I was really passionate about and how I could really help women in my best way, which is let's fix our communication. Like, let's just start there. It's the best thing ever. And it's like, oh, okay, there it is. But the hardest part, and you'll know, I can tell you all day, every day, just go say this. And, it doesn't hit, right? Like, we can't actually remember to say it in the moment, can't we? And that's why my communication isn't just shallow scripts I send to people. It's deep work from the inside out of figuring out, why do you want to say that even in the first place? We go like really deep. And that's what I love about it.
Oh, it's so amazing. Well, it's awesome. Well, I think now we've got to hear your story because I think everyone is going to be like, your story is wild. I've already teed that up. I think it's wild. Like, I just think like your whole, like the whole thing, but it's like amazing to see you blossoming and doing this. And you speak with so much intelligence and wisdom already. You really do. And I think that that's what's fascinating as well. It's here to show everyone that when you take something that means something to you, which she'll go into her story, why, but when you take something that means something to you, the wisdom that we all have usually does come out pretty quick. When you're on the right track, it exudes, it is just coming out of you. And it's, I think that's what's enabled you to be so successful right away as well, is not only all, the wisdom that you've gained from your trainings and schooling and everything to get certified, but also your personal life and then just your passion for doing this. So I'd love you to take it away and tell us just like a quick, I want this to inspire everybody to see that no matter where you're starting from or where your headspace is at the beginning of your business, that it starts with that seed of something you have a passion for, and then you just got to take steps to do it. So we'd love to hear how you did it, and I can't wait for them.
Okay. So it's 2020. I have a White Claw in one hand. No, I'm just repeating my TEDx talk at this point in time. It's become like my thing. No, but seriously. Okay. I had gotten married in 2009. And had this long marriage, very toxic throughout, at the same time still loving, but that kind of confusing, we love each other, but we're always yelling at each other. Cut to 2019, finally just kind of decided this isn't right for us anymore. And so we separated and I found a new boyfriend, and that was a whirlwind. And we broke up, this boyfriend and I, we said, I love you after 1 month. It was classic rebound, right? And I hate to even say that because I still hold him so near and dear to my heart that to almost, what's the word I'm looking for? Like subject him to that concept of rebound doesn't feel fair. And I know a lot of women listening to this might really understand that concept too, but that's what he was. I mean, I can look at it now. I can absolutely see that. So we broke up the weekend of the pandemic. You know, that big time in March of
Yes.
2020
Yes.
when all the toilet paper was missing
Yes.
from Costco and no one could get anything from the stores and we're all like crammed in. Literally that like Saturday. So it was March 14th and then March 16th, the world shut down. And I had never truly processed my divorce. I wasn't even divorced at the time, just separated. I hadn't processed this breakup. I am now a single mother and I am living alone in this house. And it was the worst time. I can't remember, maybe twice or three other times in my life have I had such a deep depression. This was one of those. And I was at the lowest points I'd ever been in. My ex-husband at the time, you know, was seeing someone, so I had to watch him be happy and I had to be lonely, and I didn't even have my girlfriends to like just go out and have drinks with, you know. And they did the best that they could, but like there's only so much you could do when you're all locked in your house and I'm stuck with my kid. It's such a lonely time, but for me, like that loneliness was just coming from yet having another relationship blow up in my face. So for me, it was just this turning point of just like I could continuously keep going under. I could, you know, keep drowning myself. I was drinking every day. I was drinking by noon. I was, you know, having weed. I was taking extra pain pills. It was a bad time. I like to be honest about this because I think more people need to be open about how rough it can actually be out there. And then I found I was on the Google. I was on the Googles and I was Googling how to win my ex back, right? My whole life was just about this one man. And I was like, I need him back in my life. Like,
are you talking about your ex-husband or are you talking
No. Talking about the ex-boyfriend.
The ex-boyfriend from 2019.
Yeah, the ex-husband's way over.
Okay,
yeah, that's
he's
like,
gone.
I love that question. Exactly.
Yeah, and so the 2019 one, the rebound one.
Yeah, this person of like 4 months became my everything. This is attachment. This is anxious attachment right there. This is that concept of just like latching onto a thing and like not being able to let go. And so it changed me because with my ex-husband, I was way more avoidant. And I'll get into that in a second. So it was very confusing to me. Googling how to win my ex back, and I came across this video on attachment styles. And there is this beautiful woman out there. Her name is Thais Gibson. She is a beautiful relationship coach as well. She has done so much work in all of this attachment style stuff. She has this amazing way of integrating attachment styles with other health and healing modalities. And I found her and I joined her program, and immediately just everything started to shift for me. It was like attachment styles to me just felt like the thing that made sense. And I have a disorganized attachment. I am the poster child of disorganized attachment. I have the classic push-pull dynamic. I want you, I want you, I want you, and then I want you to go away, go away. In fact, I did this to my boyfriend, and he was like, okay, you want me to go away? I'll go away. And I was like, damn it, no. But like, that's how that works.
Right.
So, cut forward, I'm in this school, and I'm just finding this natural ability to help people and help other women. And like, I'm understanding the material in a way I never thought I would understand this material. I never went to college. I consider myself a stupid person. Like, I mean, this sounds bad, but like, that's right. I was only good for one thing, you know, getting married, having kids. I was only a stay-at-home mom forever. Not, you know, I say that. We all know what I mean when I say that. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that. It just wasn't my choice. It's just what I felt like I had to do. And then it was like, I was picking up the science. I was doing my own research. I started like figuring other things out, and I would be able to explain this back to people. And they were like, oh, Jen, wow. Like, I have been learning this for a year and no one explained it the way you did. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's like something here. And I started following that. So when Thais had a program that was able to teach about this.
Yes. Ignore my camera.
Okay, just notice that. Yeah.
Shall I keep going? Keep going. I'll put you on the big
I'm going to keep going. You can put me on the big screen if you need to.
Yeah.
When Thais was offering a credential to basically learn how to teach the way she teaches, it was the most money I'd ever spent on myself at the time, which now looks laughable considering how much money I've spent on this business. But at the time, I did it. I found the money and I put like the $3,000 towards this, and it changed my life and I loved it. But I also thought at that moment, oh my God, I'm going to be a relationship coach and this is going to change my life and I'm going to be able to make my own money and I'm going to be able to support my child and everything's going to be great. But it didn't work out that way. Unfortunately, it wasn't as easy to get through the program and just become a coach on the other side. Like that was, and still it happens in this program. People go in expecting to be a coach and then they don't. So I had to figure this out on my own. That's the business coaching side. During this whole time, I met another guy, my now husband.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to deal with that at the same time. So,
Right.
and I went back to school. So in 2021, I'm dating my husband pretty deeply now. I'd kind of pushed him away a whole bunch of times because, again, disorganized attachment, trying to figure this
Right.
out. He was very secure, very loving, very helpful. We kind of worked through this in May of 2021. In another, I'm still not healed, right? In a very drunken state again.
Still like,
Yeah, like, so we're at what? This is May of 2021, so this would have been over a year since the breakup. I'm still technically dating my now husband, so I'm doing better, but I'm still depressed, right? I'm still
right.
like numbing. I'm having weed every night, and not like the good sleepy weed that I just have for normalness, like, you know, the hardcore
Right.
stuff.
Right.
I'm downing it with, you know, White Claws on the side, and
Aw.
apparently, in my drunken, drugged up state, I applied for college.
You applied for college while you're in this. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And I woke up the next morning to an email that just said, "You're in to Mission College," which is the college I ended up going to. And this is one of those moments where it just, you know, feels like God, feels like instinct, feels like source, just feels like I was supposed to, like, my body just knew that, because that going to Mission College changed my entire life. That was the best thing I ever did for myself. It's where I got my TEDx talk and everything. And so doing that, signing up and getting this email back that said, "You're in." And I was like, I'm into what? What did I do?
Like,
shit.
Are you kidding me? Like, you literally didn't know when you
No,
were...
I had no idea. No, I was blacked out. No, it's a bad time. It's really hard to explain because people see me now and they're like, "Jen, you're so bubbly."
Put
I mean, I've always been
together.
bubbly,
Well,
but
you're put
yeah,
together.
it looks so put together. You look so great. Everything looks so blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, I know. I worked really hard.
You're
to
like,
get
no, it was the real deal. Craziness.
Mhm. Yeah, so with
you
all of
get
that, I'm just
that.
gonna keep going until we figure out this camera situation. Is
Yeah,
that good
don't
with
even
you?
worry about me.
Okay.
You just keep talking.
Okay,
They care
guys.
about you anyways. They don't care about me. They want to know
That's what I do
about
best.
you.
If anyone in the chat has any questions as well, feel free to ask them as we're going along. I'm just gonna keep rolling with this until we sort this out. But
yes, I can
okay,
always
let's
get
see
on my phone
where.
camera.
That's
So
fair
you
too,
you
yeah.
get
Where
accepted
was
to
I?
the college, and now you're like trying to figure out how you're going to do that.
Yeah, so May 2021, I decided to take a summer class for psychology, so Psychology 101. That's why I was like, oh, I'm really good at this. So actually, and you know, just to help with timelines, this is before I became a relationship coach. Like, before I got trained in that, I was like, I'm really good at this explaining things to people. In fact, people were like, oh, are you a therapist? And I'd always wanted to be a therapist growing up. I just never thought I was smart enough. And so through learning about my attachment style and then learning about my attachment wounds and my attachment needs and all this stuff going on, I realized I had all these limited beliefs holding me back. And once I started clearing those up and I started working on them, more than just my romantic relationships started changing, it also started changing my whole inner being. And I was like, oh, apparently, you know, drunken Jen thought she could do this. And so she signed me up.
Yeah, you're like...
And it turns out I can do this. Wow.
I can.
I took a psychology class, and it was so funny. I'm taking that Psychology 101, and I was like, I know all this stuff already. Like, this is easy. Like, and then we even learned about attachment styles. I did a whole paper on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is, and so I just kept going. And I'm in community college, and and then I just thought, I'm just going to go for psychology. I'm going to try to become a therapist, or I'm going to do something, or maybe I'll just start and just get your associate's degree. I have nothing, right? I mean, I took 2 classes at community college when I was like 20, and I failed them.
Yes,
because I couldn't keep up.
That makes me sad.
I know, and this is what's so hard. I think the world is changing, but it turns out I have a lot of just learning disabilities.
Oh,
it's
how'd you figure that out?
So I almost quit Mission College like 3 times because the classes are really hard. And it was a teacher I was talking to, and he was like, oh, hey, your camera's on. Yay.
Oh, yes.
It did fall. Okay,
yes,
sorry.
We'll get it. I'm
working on it. Sorry. Okay.
Yes.
So he told me, he's like, it looks like you might need more help. Like, why don't I take you down to the counselor's office? And in my mind, I was like, I just need a little bit more time to take the test. Like, that's all it is. Like, I have a comprehension issue where I'm trying to read a question and it doesn't, I can't process what it's saying. And he was like, and I was like, I just need more time. He's like, well, I can't give you more time because I have to give everyone more time. And I was like, this is stupid. I was like, what are you
Right.
talking about? Like, I just need more time. And he's like, well, you have to go and get like permission for this. And I was like, what? And he's like, you have to go to the disability services. And I'm sitting here like, I don't have a disability. Like, that's
Right.
not for me. Turns
Right.
out I have a disability. And
Interesting.
I didn't know that. So the school helped me out. They helped me learn how to accommodate. They learned how to help me how to speak up for myself
Yes. Yes. And
and all of
advocate
that.
for yourself.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I learned I have ADHD. I
Oh my
learned
gosh.
that with that comes a comprehension issue, a slight
Yes.
dyslexia, and I struggle to read words. And I've always been this way. And I just thought I was dumb. No, I'm not dumb. It's wild
No,
actually how
it's
intelligent
just
I actually am. It's weird.
no, it's bizarre. Well, I
Like,
think a lot of people are scared of that. They think if they have disabilities and they think if they have problems like that, learning differences, that they can't be capable of actually starting a business or doing any kind of job that would require something beyond where they are today. So I think that's amazing that you did that, you know,
yeah,
and sought
thank
it out
you.
to get the help to recognize it and be like, that's okay. So many people. Are you kidding? So everybody, I think we've all got a touch of something. We've all got.
Oh yeah, we're all. What is my son and I say that a lot. He says
Yes.
this. My apologies if this actually does offend anyone. I'll stop saying it. But he says we're all a little autistic
Yeah,
because we're getting him an autism.
100%.
Yeah, we're
I,
getting him an autism diagnosis, and every time we go through the autism diagnosis, there's constantly a wait a second because it's like a me thing, right? I'm like,
yes.
I I I do that. Wait a
Yes.
second,
That's what I'm
like,
saying. I
and
think
the
we all
his
have
psychologist is
something.
like, well, maybe we need to look at getting you tested next, and I was like, oh,
You're
okay,
like, oh,
like, and then
okay.
it's like it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. So, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
beautiful.
good.
And then I do have the health issues, right? I have fibromyalgia and stuff. So apparently I should also be getting a disability for that. I didn't realize. So I can take time off school when the stress gets to be too much. And next thing I know, I'm taking care of myself and I'm advocating for myself
Mm,
and I'm doing all of these things. And it was like, and again, this was this moment of like, I want to help other people get this. Just have a high contribution need. I've always had this big service need. And it's like I want to be an advocate for this,
mm-hmm,
for
mm-hmm.
diversity, for disabilities, for all this stuff. And so I got a job in the diversity center at Mission College, and that started changing my life and learning how more to do that. And
Right.
then the coaching. And then I have always had a desire to have my own business. I used to have my own business when I would make cute little clothes for kids. I would sew clothes together.
Right.
And it was, I never properly did that business. I think I said this to you earlier. I wish I'd known you like 10 years ago
Oh,
when I could have like actually put this together. So I knew going into this, there's no place that will hire a coach. That's just not something that we have yet. Coaches are
mm.
still kind of this unique entrepreneurial vibe,
Right. Right. Right.
right?
Right.
Like, so
Yeah.
even though
I
I'm
mean,
trained
yeah.
and all this stuff, like Google's not going to hire me. Intel's not going to hire
Yeah,
me.
I guess
Like,
that's true. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
was like, what do I do? How do I do this? So I went and I thought, well, what if I go get certified by the ICF? So the ICF is the International Coaches Federation. It's the only globally
Mm-hmm.
recognized coaches federation. It has strict standards. It's very much, like a licensed based thing. And
Mm-hmm.
after I came out of the integrated attachment theory certification, I realized I needed more. I need to learn how to coach better. This is what I want to do 101. What else can I do? Someone
Right.
told me about the ICF, so I went down that road. That was my next road. And so that took me about a year and a half, and I finally got certified on that. It was intense, Kimberly. Oh my gosh.
Mm. Mm.
It was over 100 hours of like classes. It was 100 hours of coaching. 75 of those needed to be
What?
paid. Yeah. And I had to get all of that in, and then I had to take an exam, which took me 4 hours to take.
So
And
is
I
that
just
much
barely passed.
Oh my gosh. I can't imagine. I'd have been a stress case. I can't even
Yeah.
imagine. Is that normal? So for what kind of certification is that requires that many hours? Just in case anyone's watching and is
Yeah.
interested in being a coach, like what kind of coaching is that? And
So it's
explain that.
general coaching. So it's ICF coaching. So it's
Okay.
just kind of like the way you might get like a general license for being a therapist or something like
Okay.
that. It's just for it's for life coaching, but mine is specifically based in relationship and dating coaching. So
Oh,
my
okay.
my life coaching certification, that's the right way to say that,
Yeah. Yeah.
is in relationship and dating coaches. That's like what my little thing says. And then the ICF there's three different levels.
Oh,
So
okay.
I like to attribute them to like an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and a master's is how I kind of associate
Oh,
them.
okay. Okay.
So you have the ACC, and then you have the PCC, and then you have the MCC. And they're all just based on, how many hours you've coached, how long you've done training, that kind of stuff. And so right now I'm the ACC.
Okay.
So I have like my associate's degree in coaching, and I'm working towards my PCC next. And this just basically states I have this many hours of coaching, which I love to see and I love to hear, because in my world, when it comes to like trauma, relationships, children, your husband, your partner, like this stuff is intense. This stuff is deep.
Right.
Like
Right.
you got to be careful out there who you go with.
Right. Right.
And any Tom, Dick, or Harry can come out and be like, yes, I will help you with your relationship. And then what you need to do here is go and buy yourself new clothes, and like these things that I was like Googling when I was trying to figure out how to get my ex back. There's experts everywhere. And so what I loved about this was this stuck with me. This hit home for me personally of this is credential. Like this
Right.
shows somebody the work I've put in to try to be the best possible coach I could possibly be.
Yeah.
So, and they know I've had at least 100 hours, and they know if I do anything wrong, like if I'm in the middle of a coaching call with someone and I overstep or I make them feel uncomfortable or anything like that, they have a place to go to like I say, to tell on me, right?
Yeah.
Like to keep me in check. Like that's what I love
Yeah.
about this too. That's what I love about the ICF. It's finally something out there to keep coaches in check, because otherwise, like, what are we doing, kind of thing. And again, I just want to be clear, this is for when we're talking about like relationships. This is a
Yes.
different vibe than when we're talking about like business coaches or life
Yes.
coaches or different
Yes.
thing like that.
Yes.
That's a
Yes.
mentoring thing.
Right.
That's like that
Right.
doesn't need that kind of stuff. This over here, though, we're talking about people's like the
Yeah. It's
stuff I get
delicate.
into, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're talking about the
Mhm.
time when you were like a 5-year-old, you fell off the bed and
Yes.
no one
Yeah.
cared for you, right? We're
Yes.
talking about trauma over here.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
hold that carefully
Right.
for people.
Yes. And hold that
Um,
space. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
No,
So
that's
that's what I
amazing.
did there.
Okay. So you got certified. You're moving
Yes.
along. And this was when? Like a couple years ago? I'm trying to think where we are now.
No, okay, so I actually only just took this is wild when I think about this, Kimberly. We could just talk about this year. March of this year is when I
What?
got, yeah.
That's when it was
After
all
my
completed.
TEDx talk. Yeah, it's when it
your
was
TEDx
completed.
talk.
So I started it in like 2022. I started no, wait, hold on. I have it. September of 2022 is when I joined the Integrated Attachment Theory program.
Yes.
September. I was certified. So I did that in the summer of 2022. I became certified in September. I thought, yay, I'm gonna have a job. I did
Right.
not get a job. None of us got a
No.
job. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
one of the hardest things. Then in November, I found out about the ICF, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So I started
Right.
those classes in 2023, and I believe that's when I met you. So
Okay, in 2023. Okay, yes.
2023 was my building year. It's also when I got married, right? It's my building year. So I
Yes.
started the
Yes.
ICF training in January, and I started my podcast training with you in May.
Yes.
And then I was getting married in July. And
Okay.
so
Okay.
I don't know how to do things
I don't know
half-assed,
how you
apparently.
did all that. I have no earthly
I don't
idea
know how I
to
did all that either. I don't know what I was thinking. But
Mhm.
it was because it was Sarah. Sarah was in my IIT program.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
she was
right.
like,
That's right. That's right.
and I was like, what do I do? I don't know how to run this business.
Yes.
Like, what
Yeah,
do I
yeah,
do,
yeah.
Sarah? Like, she's a good friend of mine. And I was like, she's like, oh, I follow this woman. She's got a podcast. I said, I want a podcast. And she was like, oh my God, she's actually opening up a podcast boot camp. And I was like,
Yes.
I need a podcast boot camp. It just felt so synchronous. And I just signed up. I didn't know who you were. I'm sure. Sometimes I still think you looked at me like, who the hell are you, Jen? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, who is it? No, it's so awesome. Well, I love that you got a personal referral, and I think that's just as a complete side note. I think that's what's so great is that personal referrals for all of our businesses are super important because it worked and it was timely, and a friend knew your need, and it was right here. So yeah, that's when you joined Bingeworthy, which was the podcast boot camp that I have. And for anyone here that's been thinking about starting a podcast, it's great. I take you through, you get replays of all the live trainings that we did 10 days in a row of like, yeah, and just everything you need to do. So if you're thinking about a podcast, it can literally change your life. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to market your business. So which brings me to you starting your podcast. And I remember you were talking about your name And tell everyone about your podcast because I think it's so great. And I have my daughters listen. I mean, so many people I know listen to your stuff. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah. So I knew that I've always wanted to do a podcast. Like I just, look, I talk a lot, right? I was like, this is the thing. Always in my
You're like,
report
I like
cards.
this.
Jenny's great, but she's a social butterfly. She talks so much. And who knew that I could use this? Who knew that this wasn't this terrible thing about me?
Right.
And so I always knew I had a podcast, but how do you get started? How do you pick a microphone, Kimberly? Like I think I remember some of these questions coming into you and just being like, I don't even know what a boom arm is. Like
what is everything?
Yeah. Now like look at me, right? Like I get like all like the hydraulic
like, what is
stuff and everything. It's great. So I knew I wanted to do it so bad. I was in a class. This is so fun. Can I share the story about my whole business name?
Yes, share. Okay. Share away.
I'm in my communications class, small groups communication, and 2022 at some point in time, I think it was like early spring of 2022, maybe fall, I forget which one. And I knew at that time I wanted to really do a podcast. So I found other students who our project for the entire year would be to start a podcast. And I thought, if I could do this, if I could start a podcast in this class, it'll help me with figuring out. So it must have been spring of 2022 because that's when I found you.
Okay.
So it must have been like during that time frame.
Yeah,
and so we did.
Yeah.
So we're like, we have to come up with a name for this podcast.
Naming your podcast is always a fun adventure.
Yeah, we're like, it's like a little student class, whatever. I'm just like, whatever, guys, I don't care. What do we call it? And they're like, and I was like, okay, guys, listen, we just have to make a decision. Because don't forget, like, I'm like the 40-year-old in this, space of 18-year-olds, right? So I was like, okay, guys, listen, just call it Speak on It. Just say that. Just because someone had said, well, we could really speak on, student issues. And I was like, so call it Speak on It. Turn it into the teacher. Turn it into the teacher. Get it over with. They're like, it's not a big deal, guys. And they were like, okay, great. So the girl wrote it down, gave it to the teacher. Later on, the teacher gives us back our stuff, and on there, she had misheard because, like with the second language, she had heard honest, so she wrote "Speak honest" down for the thing, and she brought it back, and we were all like, that's not what we said. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then it's like something like hit in my body, like something clicked, and I was like, I love it. It's so unique. I looked it up. Nobody has it. It's nowhere. It's so unique. And that was what we called our project. And so we would interview students around the campus, and we would ask them about their mental health. And I was the podcast host. And this still exists somewhere in the world. But as we're going along, and I'm in your group and I'm learning I need to come up with a name, I was like, I want that name.
Right.
I want that name for my podcast. I want it for my eventual business. Right. I want that name. So I got them all to
I want it all.
like release it to me. And like,
yes.
I asked for their permission and all this stuff. And, at the time they're like, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do with it? I was like, don't be surprised if I do something big with it. Like,
you're like, I may very well do something
we're
big.
We're talking like a book one day or something, right? Like this could be big.
It means
like, and I don't want you coming after me later being like, that's my name kind of thing. Like, so I was like, I went through the whole like legal thing of like making sure because I wanted it so bad, Kimberly. And like, now it's mine. Look at it. It's like, I love that story so much because that's my podcast name.
Yes.
And I started it in January of this year.
Okay.
After my divorce was finally finalized.
Okay.
And I got to start my LLC. I got to start everything. I was waiting. That's how long it took. You and I met in May of 2023. We went through the boot camp after a couple weeks, and I still didn't start that podcast until over 6 months later. But I knew I could do it. I had to I kept saying that I'm okay taking things slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just building. I'm just building.
Did everyone hear that? Did everyone hear that? I love taking things
slow.
I'm building. That? It's a good, and I know our society right now is like, hurry, like go, take action. And I'm all about that. But I also think the timing and the season of your life of what's going on. And it's very important with your business that it's fitting this season of your life. So that was good. You recognize that and you said, it's okay. You gave yourself grace and you're like, okay, I'm doing it. It's just may take me a little bit. Okay. So you
Yeah,
do
because
that.
I remember at the time I wanted to get into your beta program, I think, of your boot camp, because it was
Yeah.
like one of the like, oh, then maybe I could have it. It was just the perfect timing.
Yeah.
I was like, I should have waited, but no, I'm glad I didn't. I
Right.
met some
Right.
amazing women in there that are still my friends and all of that stuff.
Yes. Yes.
So all of this, getting married, things are going down. Then there's this opportunity for a TEDx talk at my college. And I was like, okay, I need to do this. It's so
What
wild to
made
think
you?
that
Because I think a lot of people would be
it's my
completely
dream.
mortified and
No, it's
terrified.
my dream. I think in
Okay.
TED Talks. I literally have conversations in my head as TED Talks. Like Brene Brown, she's my idol, right? She's like my like girly.
Right.
Brene Brown is like my everything. She is like who I aspire to be one day if I could be so lucky. And she did that amazing TED Talk, right,
Yes.
about
That famous
vulnerability.
one. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking like that's just how I talk to myself. And I'm always like, okay, so one day I was walking on the street and a car nearly hit me. Right? That's how I talk. This is just like,
Like your
and
language.
and so when they said, I know it's on my bucket list to do a TED Talk, but it's
Yes.
on my bucket
Okay.
list to do a TED Talk like it is climb Mount Everest. It's never going to happen. Nobody gets to do that.
Nobody. Yeah. You're like, it's just on my bucket list. No big
Yeah,
deal.
right. And then God, it's still so wild to think about just the course of events
Right.
at that college. I got into Toastmasters group because of my comm studies stuff, which is the same teacher who not only did I get the Speak Honest from, but also he's the one that took me down to talk about my disabilities. And then he had another teacher and they got me in, and I did a speech contest at Mission College and I won. That's actually, I think, what this little guy is up here. That's why I
Oh,
love
we
him.
can't see. Dang it.
Yeah.
The
Oh no,
camera's
that's
not.
you
I
know
don't
what?
have
Never
your
mind.
whole
There's
thing.
you can, if you look just slightly, there's a thing that says place.
Okay.
And this is a silly little. It looks big, but it's just a silly little contest I won at Mission College,
That's so
and
neat.
I won first place and I got a perfect score. And the
So you're
best part
like,
about that,
okay, you're feeling
yeah, I was like, oh,
confident.
I could do this. Oh my God. Like, and this is just hard to explain. Like, it's even hard right now for me to hype myself up because this is just not who I ever thought I was. Like, I just didn't think
Right.
I could have a voice. I didn't think I could be anything. I
Mm.
didn't think I could be big. And I got that. I wasn't even prepping for it. I didn't know I was supposed to give a speech when I showed. I thought I was supporting other people. And so they were like, Jen, can you give a speech? And so I just gave a speech that I had already had done previously off the cuff. And I got a perfect score. And I was like, oh, okay. And this other teacher was like, what are you doing with your life? Like, you're natural at this. And I was like, everybody in my entire life has told me to sit down and shut up. And you're sitting here telling me that I need to get up and talk? Like, this is going to take a minute to process.
It's
and
taking
this
me
teacher,
a minute while you're
yeah,
saying that to think of how amazing you are and that your life has been filled with things that are trying to push you down and not speak, and that you have this moment of realization where someone else outside of all of that recognizes
yeah,
that you have a great way to help people and to speak. And
yeah. He
it's
changed my life.
it is. I'm like
Yeah.
trying to soak that in. I think it's pretty poignant and moving time in your life. So you feel that moment, you get the 100, you get the validation and affirmation from the teacher saying, what are you doing now? And so now this is when the TED Talk is coming up, the opportunity.
Yeah,
Is that
because he
what
comes to
happens?
me, he basically sees that I did this, and he comes to me and he's like, okay, well, we need a ringer because this is for students and we want to do this, but like he's like, we need to have you. You're going to come do
Right.
this TEDx talk, right? And I
Right.
was like, what TEDx talk? And he was like, what? And he was like, so like without this teacher, and he's like the person who runs the Toastmasters and has just completely changed my
Okay.
life. Also the person, who triggers the crap out of me and I cry sometimes because he's an asshole. Like, like this is the people in our lives, like that I almost ran away from like 20 times because he pushes me out of my comfort zone. And he was like, you have to do this. So I
Aw.
decided at that moment, I'm going to do my TEDx talk on attachment styles. Because at that point in time, I'm still knee deep in attachment theory, and I'm taking an interpersonal communication class, and I love this teacher, and she's helping me out, and she's like, you're so good at attachment styles. I just did a whole presentation on them. And I was like, I could do this in my sleep. They always say, what's that one thing you could talk about for like a half hour without ever needing to look down at your notes? For me, that was attachment styles. So that's what I did. And I turned it into this dance analogy about dances and attachment styles. And it just started forming into its own little life of its own. And the next thing I know, I got the email on December 27th that I was in. That's how long it took, even from finding that out. And then on February 29th, I gave my talk.
It's
And
so
it's
amazing. If someone wants
exploded.
to hear your talk, how
Oh,
do you
yeah.
go to that? I could type it in the YouTube chat, or
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know.
it's on YouTube. So if you, I don't even know how would we do that. Yeah, like if it is
If you can
this is
copy
the,
their, or sometime even after this, like copy the URL of it and just paste it in the comments, or
yeah, I
even
could probably
now.
get it like right now because look, I always have it on my history somewhere.
Yes,
Cuz
if you
there
could get it and
is
put it in the chat, I think it'd just be neat for people to see you and see your TED Talk and her podcast. By the way, I'm going to type that in the chat. It's called Speak Honest is her podcast. So while she's looking up that link for the TEDx Talk, Speak Honest is the podcast. It's on Apple,
yeah.
Spotify, etc., and it's great. And you do a lot of conversations with clients and
I
stuff.
do. I love the podcast so much because I've kind of balanced between some I do like 45-minute coaching calls. So if you
Oh,
want to
okay.
just kind of get an idea for how I coach, or sometimes I just recommend other people listening to me coaching someone else because it'll help their
Yes.
situation.
Yeah, totally.
And then the other ones I just do like a little 15-minute blurb. But right now, which is really fun as I'm talking to you, I'm actually doing a 4-part series on the dance of attachment, which is directly related to the TEDx talk.
Okay,
So
awesome.
I have this
So,
whole kind of long-term business plan for this dance of attachment to kind of become a life of its own. So I did
right.
the TEDx talk. I do have a workbook out there. If anyone is interested in the workbook, you could just reach out to me. It's all about the dance of attachment. I
How does
now I'm
someone
doing
reach out to you? How would they? What
they
is
could
you have
go
a
to they could visit my website,
okay?
speak-honest.com.
Okay. Perfect. I put that in the
Yeah,
chat right now. So if anybody
find
wants
me
to go to
there.
that, it's not like the official link,
Hmm.
but it's the speak-honest.com. So you have a free
Yeah.
download for them to learn those attachment styles that you talk about in the TED Talk. Right now, you're about to do a 4-part series on your
Yeah.
podcast about it. And on your podcast, you also have coaching calls with people to help people with their attachment styles so they can better their relationship. So you get your podcast going, you get the TEDx Talk going. Was your podcast started before that? Before your TEDx Talk? I can't remember now. If you
Yes, just barely.
just barely. Okay.
Everything happened this year.
Like
Sorry.
everything just culminated.
Every everything finally accumulated. Like if we go down I got married last July, but technically my divorce didn't go through because there was issues with paperwork because the government sucks. And so
Yeah.
divorce came through on January 29th. I started my LLC on January 30th. Then my first podcast went out finally around that same time frame. And then I did get officially married on February 14th. And then I had the TEDx talk on February 29th. And then I joined a different business group so I could learn how to create my program. And I did
Yes.
that. And then I was like, and then the summer hit, and then I launched my program this fall. So it has just been oh my God, Kimberly. And I graduated from Mission College as valedictorian, remember?
I mean,
There's
how many things can you have? Oh my gosh. So
There's so
you're
much
validating.
that happened to me this year that I forgot about. I still can't get over that one because, again, we're talking, I'm a failure at school. I was told I would never amount to anything. I was told to sit down and shut up. I was constantly failing in my classes. I would have panic attacks and just like anxiety attacks at school all times. I couldn't do this. So for this year to see that they contacted me and said, I'm in the running as valedictorian, like as a girl who failed out of community college in her early 20s, to just turn that completely around. I still can't get over that sometimes. I can't get over it so much I forgot about it. That's what's so funny. I was just like, so yeah, that was in May, and that's what I did there.
I mean, I
Mission
hope
College changed my life.
Well, that's amazing. And where is that located? Are you in California?
Yeah, Santa Clara,
Okay.
right next to Levi Stadium. Actually, if you guys
Okay.
ever watch football, our college literally is the parking lot for that
Is
stadium
right
now.
there.
Yeah,
Well, I just
which
think
is
it's
kinda
so
cool.
inspiring. I think, I when after we talked the first time and you were on the podcast, by the way, she was on episode 244 of the She's Just Getting Started podcast. You can also hear that interview too. But I was just thinking against all odds. I was just thinking against all odds and all self-doubt. you still were able to do it. And I know for some people watching, even all the stuff that she's accomplished in the last year may seem intimidating to some. I'm just going to be honest. It feels intimidating to some people that are new business owners because they just don't have the courage. And they're like, well, she was valedictorian. Oh, then she, was #1 speaker and she's in Toastmasters and she got a TEDx talk and then she got her podcast. It feels like a lot. And I think what everyone has to remember is you have to go at your own pace. You have to do it for this season of your life. But sometimes this is what I see happens, that it all culminates and comes together in a moment where she's even forgetting these massive achievements because she is on the ride. She's doing it. She's taking steps. She's focusing on the next best thing forward. And I think for all of you, whatever stage you're in, whether you're in school, whether you're married, whether you're divorced, whether you're a grandmother, whatever you are. I mean, I have clients that are all different ages and everything in life situations, that no matter what you think is holding you back, it can still be overcome. Okay. It can still be overcome. And Jen did it not by her own will. I'm sure she would say God had a hand in this, of course, and the people around her that saw her gifts. And I think you have to remember that too, to surround yourself with fresh new faces. If you have found yourself being I don't even know the word, stifled or told to be quiet or all these things, that surround yourself with new people and fresh faces that will give you that inspiration and can see a different perspective of you, a new you, and see what you're capable of.
Can I speak on that real quick?
Yes.
You say that and I almost teared up because surround yourself with people who support you. I'm not kidding you. It's right here on my monitor. I'm going to grab it. It's the thing that you sent to me.
Stop.
No, it's I keep it next to me at all times because it says right there, I know your podcast is going to be such an amazing gift, and it has always been and helped so many better their lives and relationships. I have kept this next to me at all times, and that's what she's talking about. Like you have to be able to find people that are going to lift you up like that. Yeah. I think that's exactly what Kimberly did for me. And I got all of this stuff this year because when I was just getting started, I didn't have anything. Like I didn't have all of the stuff. And then I found Kimberly. I got all of this stuff because I found Kimberly, because her community and her support system and the way she just is there for you at all times it's stunning. And it just really lifted me up to a place where it was like, I could do this. Okay, like, oh my gosh, like I could actually do this. Like she gives that kind of level of support that not everyone else gives all the time, and everyone does their own different things. And I get that.
Right. Everyone.
And so I'm always so glad I found you, because I didn't just do your podcast. As soon as I just done with your boot camp, I was like, I need more Kimberly. I joined your Grow Getters, didn't I? I was like, this is not a podcast for me anymore. This is like, I need her. I'm so glad. And I don't even come to all the stuff anymore, do I?
No, but you don't have, that's the point. Exactly. You don't need me forever.
I don't, right? Exactly. You don't. You shouldn't need someone forever, right? That would be the mark of a good coach. A good business coach lifts you up and then lets you fly.
Yeah. And then you go. I know.
That's what that is. So yeah.
That's so sweet, Jen. Thank you so much for all of that. But I can't believe that kind of full circle moment I didn't even remember on that note what I had written. So, and I love that you have it on your monitor to remind you. And I think all of us have people in our lives that we're all touching people. That's what's interesting. Like you, Jen, right now on your podcast, you're touching people, and we don't realize the tentacles that we have that are just weaving this world together and making it a better place. And so I think that's what's cool too. And to give everyone the drive to go for it and just take the next best step. So you're such an inspiration. Okay. So you get in Grow Getters, you're doing all this. Oh, and now you got your whole program figured out. So you run like a cohort based, I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but certain groups. Why don't you explain just kind of what your program is, just because in case anyone's here that would love that kind of help in their life.
Yeah. So throughout all of this, I just kind of decided I really want to do a program about this. Like, how do I do that? So I found this other kind of coaching thing that I invested a crap ton of money in. And I do not recommend this for everybody, but it was something that felt called for me to do. And I was able to get this 12-week program up and running. And it finally launched in August. And it's a 12-week cohort where I take 10 women through an intensive healing program where we start with your goals and intentions, your attachment styles, digging up your limited beliefs, figuring out how to reprogram them in your mind with, a kind of a somatic process that I have developed. And then, as well as learning about boundaries and how to communicate better. And then by the end, you're able to finally kind of communicate yourself freely, how you want to be, and feel confident. And this has been the dream. Like, I still can't believe I got to have that by this year, but this has been the dream for as long as I can remember, is a community of women. And so to continuously keep bringing them in, do this program and do coaching that way. I still do one-on-one coaching. People can come in and purchase a package from me, blah, blah, blah. But this program is my baby. It's just this is like the tiny little thing that it's like, I hold your hand the whole way and we work through it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I love it. It's called the Relationship Reboot Program. I love a good alliteration. I can't help it.
Reboot. And that's at Speak Honest. And I'll just type this in here.
Speakhonest.com. Speak-honest.com because, Speak Honest was taken and it's annoying as crap.
Yeah.
One day I will have Speak Honest, but for now it is Speak-honest.
Yeah. Just take what you can get
how
now.
It goes. Yeah.
That happened to me when I was trying to get my URL. Somebody had Kimberly Brock, a photographer or something. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to do, I can't even remember what I did. I had a different website. And then one day I checked and it was for sale and I about freaked out. And I was like, I'm snagging
Take it. Yeah, you taught me that stuff.
It was like $500, but I grabbed it because I was like, somebody else is going to take it. I was like, I think that's a bargain for the rest of my life.
Worth it.
Yes, it's worth every penny.
You taught me that too, because I think I was looking up things and you were just like, you're always saying imperfect progress, right? So you're like, just grab what you can and we'll figure it out later.
We'll just figure it out. You'll get it.
Exactly.
I think you'll get it.
The next step I do want to do at some point in time is maybe figure out a way to protect the concept of Speak Honest a little bit more. I keep meaning to check in with you about that. We'll talk about that later, but like the legal side of
you can
trademarking, copywriting, what do I do? But that's the business stuff that even now with everything I do, I have a whole team around me. I have like a CFO. I have the editors for the podcast. I have a virtual assistant now. I have a website developer. It's wild to me to think about all of this stuff. I'm like, but what's legal stuff? Like, somebody help me.
I know.
Right?
Like,
I'm a mess. I don't know what I'm doing.
You're like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you just real quick, and just for anyone watching, what I did when I was doing the She's Just Getting Started podcast is I just wanted to get it trademarked so no one else could take it. And if I wanted to like create a program, I didn't know at the time. This was before I'd even started my business, or like right at the beginning. It's like, I don't even know what this is. And they kind of guide you, like, do you think you'll have printables for it? Like a book or a thing. And then you can pay to cover it on other ways. Like they're serving mediums, like video. Would you have a movie called or a document? Like you can protect all those things. I just kind of chose, I think I chose program, some kind of printable book or something, and then the podcast. So it'd be all the audio. So that was a trademark that I had to pay for. I can't remember how much it was through LegalZoom. I'm thinking it was maybe $700 or $800 at the time.
But you use LegalZoom?
I did use LegalZoom, and it worked out great.
You for that.
You could always just talk to them.
I'm getting a coaching call right now. This is
great.
I
know, just right now. But I thought I might as well just go and tell you, and then anybody listening, that they will help you determine what you think you should protect as far as your name. So now then you can put the little R, the little registered trademark, and so I have that and was super happy. It took a while to get it. It took almost a year before I actually got it in the mail. But you can use a temporary trademark, that little TM with a circle. Yeah. You can use that anytime right now to protect. It's kind of like putting a sign in this.
Temporary?
Yes.
Trademark?
It's like
I didn't know that.
Yes. I would put it up now on all your stuff right at the end of Speak Honest logo. Like just put it in Canva. Like you can just do the TM. Like on the Mac, there's some kind of commands or whatever, kind of computer on. It can make that little tiny TM. And so you can use that from here on out, never get a trademark or use that and then get the official one. So it's just kind of putting a line in the sand, a sign saying, this is actually mine. I mean, it's not as totally legally protected as if you have the trademark, but it is staking a claim. So I think you could feel great with that. Because I definitely want to,
thank you for that though. I think that's exactly what I need to do because I think it's starting to become kind of time for that,
Yeah, to protect it. I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
And because you love the name so much, it is a great name. And I just don't want anyone else taking it.
Yeah, and it's unique enough to where someone could absolutely just swoop in and grab it. But like, it's also not that unique to where someone can't just be like, what are you talking about? I've had this the entire time.
Right.
Like,
You can at least prove your, yeah. And the length of time that you have it is helpful as well. But
But anyways, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, Jennifer, you are such an inspiration. I hope everyone realizes today, again, that against any odds that you think you have, any limitations that you think you have, whether it be disabilities, whether it be home life situation, whether it be season of life, divorce, what you've been told, preconceived notions about yourself, anything, that it can be overcome, and surrounding yourself with people who support you and allowing them to see the best in you that will help you move forward and give you that affirmation that this is what you should be doing, and to take things simple and do them at your own pace. So I think it's so awesome. I'm so glad you were on the show today. You are such a ray of sunshine and so inspiring to everyone in Grow Getters and in the Binge Worthy group too. You are an inspiration and you're proof of what can be. So I just appreciate you so much for being on here and taking time.
Thank you for inviting me on here. And this is a new learning experience for me too, right? I'd never done a YouTube live before.
I know. It's fun.
So I love that I just keep learning new things. And then as is pure exact momhood, I got a text from my son saying he's sick and I need to go pick him up. So such is life right now.
This is season of life right now. This is what everyone is dealing with.
This is what happens, right? I mean, this is why we have these jobs, because we want this flexibility. And this is, again, synchronistic to be perfect. So we're going to finish up here. I'm going to go grab. Thank you so much to everyone that came. Heidi and
everyone's
Hafsa,
so sweet. Yes. I love that y'all came and listened. And I know on the replay, this is what happens. And then the replay goes and people see it. And I will let everyone that's on my email list and everything know, because I think this is such an important show and episode for people to watch. So
and please reach out to me if you have any questions, even just about stuff. Like, I'm not like I'm not a business coachy person, but people oftentimes just want to pick my brain, and I'll be like, I'll tell you,
like, what'd you do?
Ridiculously on it. It's the name. But I will tell you everything. People are like, oh, you're doing so great. I could be like, no, I'm in debt, but I'm loving it. But there was a choice I made.
Right. It was a choice. It was a conscious, intentional choice to do this, and this. So that's what
you want to know how much work it is? Like, I spend 12-hour days. Like, do you want to know? I'll tell you everything, but it is filling my soul right now.
Yes,
and it is my everything, and I love it. And that's what I encourage everyone out there to do. Just follow the thing that you love to do, but just know that we don't become like super rich millionaires just because we start looking or sounding successful. It's never about that. At least it hasn't been for me. So I just want to point that out to an extent, because I often think people think I'm, where I'm someplace I'm not. So
but I love it. Candid and truthful. I think that's important, because we don't want business owners getting into things thinking that it's going to have the laptop life and be on the beach in a week and they, work 2 hours a day. No, you're working all the time, but it fills your soul. And that's what this is about.
It's hard freaking work.
It's hard.
It is the hardest thing I've ever done. Mm-hmm. And also it is just the most fulfilling.
Right. No, I agree.
But it's not easy at all.
No,
and I did think, I'll be honest, I thought it was going to be easy at first. And it's not. It's not easy. But I'm glad I keep doing it. A little bit. I was like,
you're getting there. You're getting there. It will get easier. I promise you, things do get easier, because things scale off that you don't need to be doing anymore, and you focus on what's important.
That's the goal, right? Yeah. That's the thing. I have people now helping me and all this stuff. But thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here. Anyone who's watching this later, like I said, reach out to me at any time. I highly recommend Kimberly if you are looking for someone that you need to just get you over that hump where you're just getting started. You don't know what to do next. That was my favorite thing about Kimberly, was sometimes people are like, here, you just do this. And it's like, but what is that? What does that even mean? Like, you just need to get a boom arm. What the heck is a boom arm? Like, why do I need a headphone? Somebody explain this to me. And she does. And she explains that. And it's so
sweet. Well, I appreciate it. Well, that's it. So y'all have a great day. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And thank you, Jen. And we will talk soon.
Take care.
Bye.
See you later.